Recently, George Janko had Girls Gone Bible on his podcast, and the conversation of profanity came up. Now, George has been transparent that he has a foul mouth. And
I have a filthy mouth. I have a filthy mouth.
you know, he doesn't know if it's sinful or not. Well, apparently, they ended up having a conversation with him about this, and the conclusion may shock you. Let's jump into this conversation. Around the 57-minute mark?
Really curious your opinion on it. What do you think about cussing?
Cussing?
Yeah. What is your take on it?
Yeah, so the reason why it doesn't affect my heart too much, because I know my God doesn't judge like swearing like that. And mind you, like, yes, I do. I have to change now. Okay, let me rephrase this. I have to change now because God put me in a place for me to be speaking. And I'm realizing that I have to be better and more diligent with my tongue, because if I'm not, then I'm showing that I'm not disciplined. Therefore, it gives room for the devil to come and just move my tongue in his direction. So yes, I have to be obedient on the tongue. Now, when I swear...
The thing you got to appreciate about George is he's very self-aware. Like, he kind of said both things at the same time, but he understands that as his platform is increasing, he's crushing it. Recently, you know, 2.3 million subscribers. I think it's a great person to be having these conversations in the YouTube ecosystem, right? Like,
Double kill.
Another for the pyre. Ready for some revenge? Not dead yet.
You are the avatar of death. They're firing at us.
Let's end this quickly.
powerful foe.
Should've thought twice.
You are the avatar of death. Double kill.
You are.
Shut down.
Don't bury me
Double kill rings out.
Who's up next?
Headshot.
Should've thought twice. Better find some cover. Am the flame.
Dark Gale is here.
We have lost the battle, but not the war.
Didn't think I could pull that off, did you?
You are the avatar of death. Double kill.
I am Smokey, sir.
Shut down.
No time to nap.
Double kill.
He's introducing people out like that are having really good conversations. I think he's
Your intent on how you're using it. I think there's a difference, even with my own child. If I'm looking at my child and he stubs his toe as like a 4-year-old, he goes, oh, like that. To me, I'm laughing like, oh, shit.
hold on, George. Your kid's not gonna be dropping the F-bomb at 4. Okay, unless you walking around the house dropping an F-bomb. Okay, so this is a wild example. And
Hush here, joining up. Smoke, ready and waiting. Let's try something new. Should have thought twice. Let's end this quickly. Let's end this quickly.
Blade here. Let's mix it up.
I'm magic, there's no escape. Enemy in the There's
Got
no
enemies in the distance.
Who's up next?
Your valor will not be forgotten.
That's a lot of F-bombs.
that's a lot of F-bombs, bro. Go ahead. I love you,
shouldn't say
George,
that.
but come on.
Versus my son out in the street being like, I'm gonna fuck you up and I'm gonna blah 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 to somebody. I'm like, whoa, that's gonna come with some repercussions, my man. Like you can't talk like that. So I think cursing is like, where's your intent with it? Like if, like for example, if I'm talking to some new Christians and they don't really get God, and I'm talking to them about being perfect, and now I'm watching them tune out. But then I go, but listen, it's hard. And then they go, wait, what? You're like me. Oh, so you're not holier.
So
than
so he's like a missionary cursor.
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
George is a missionary cursor. Oh my gosh.
He's like, you gotta grab their attention.
You gotta grab their
You gotta
attention.
stop the scroll.
You know?
not perfect, obviously not, because you're swearing. Sometimes I use it as a relatability, like I speak in their language. It's hard to talk to somebody if you can't understand
gift of
them.
tongues.
And so I wasn't really too quick to fix my tongue because I tell people all the time, they look at me as a preacher. I ain't no preacher. I'm a man who fears God and loves to talk about it. And so if that...
You're a preacher.
If
you
it-
have a massive platform.
If it takes you in the direction...
They said you're a preacher and you're a missionary.
You're a preacher and you're a missionary. I mean,
What do you think about that?
I think they're right.
You think you're a
they're right.
preacher?
I think I'm preaching. Yeah,
Oh, that's
I think
true.
I'm preaching.
You're not
and
a pastor, but you're a preacher.
And I'm yeah. This is the difference between a pastor and a preacher. I'm a communicator, and this is definitely evangelistic. This is definitely reaching people beyond the four walls of the church. And so is George. So when you have a certain degree of influence, I don't care if you're an NFL athlete. If he was if it was a football star, you were going up and saying, you know, I want to thank God for helping me through this and blah blah blah, and just all praise and glory to Jesus. Who's the football player that just did that?
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud. If he was C.J. Stroud, and then he was still cussing, we'd still be like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be like, hey, if you're going to position yourself as an outspoken person in public, you have to control your tongue. I don't think that's unreasonable for people to feel that way.
Of that, and that's great. But to me, it's like my heart was like, I like talking to people that don't know who God is at all, and like bringing them. I'm trying to be a fisher of men, right? And I might talk like a sailorman, and that's swear. like if you listen to any sailor, they he cusses like a sailor. Like this is the men that Jesus chose. Like you think Peter was walking around with no filthy mouth? Like he was. It took him a bit to like rein it in and be disciplined. I guarantee you, when I'm like 40, I'm probably not going to be talking the same way that I'm talking.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me toss and turn at night. There's a lot of things that make me toss and turn at night. That's just honestly just not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in my early 30s, I unfortunately thought like this. If I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you guys, I thought like this, and then I had kids. So I understand how he thinks like that. But let's see what Girls Gone Bible say to him.
Yeah, we asked you because we're on the topic of like transformation and stuff. Ari and I are both from the East Coast. She's from Boston. I'm Albanian. Using the F word.
Albanian just said enough for me.
Yeah.
Albanians are crazy, dog.
So like us, like nobody had worse mouths than Ari and I. Truly, we were to the point where like, because in my culture, where she's from, like using the F word isn't insulting because it's like an like it's just a part of the language. It's not insulting. And so for the longest time, I truly believed I was going to be a cussing Christian. I had zero intention on ever stopping. There was one moment, and I never had conviction about it, which is fun. Which I never had conviction. And I always said, well, when I cuss, I don't feel anything, so it's not bad. So like I see what God's word says about it, because it does say don't cuss, don't curse, don't use foul language. But like I don't feel anything, so it's fine. One time I fasted. I fasted for the first time when we started Girls Gone Bible, and I went one day, 24 hours, no food, no water, no coffee, nothing. It was my first time ever fasting. I was so full of the Spirit. I was so sensitive to God. I was so just really spiritually sensitive. I get on the phone with a friend. She says an F word. For the first time in my life, my whole body cringed. And it was the first time I ever felt conviction about cussing. And I was like, I don't like that because I don't want to stop cussing. So I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen. All of a sudden, from that moment on, I just had a stirring in my spirit. But I kept going and I kept trying to ignore it, which is...
Smokey, ready and waiting. That's right. Enemy down. Not dead yet.
You are the avatar of death. Double kill.
cleanses. I am we serve order.
Halfway through. Stay strong.
We've got enemies in the distance.
Am the flame. I've returned from the flames.
Is within our grasp.
I've returned from the flames.
The wind down.
Enemy ahead. Am the flame. Of course it's dead.
The enemy's work is halfway done.
Who's up next?
We got enemies.
Enemy down.
They've broken. Victory is ours.
Easy battle. Almost a waste of my talent. You are part. And decisions.
Double kill.
I judge thee guilty.
what I did with a lot of different types of sin in my life is that eventually I would feel no
She's
conviction.
spitting.
One day, all of a sudden, God would reveal it to
Yeah,
me. and I'd get
don't do that. Don't, like, if you feel that conviction, don't try to suppress the conviction. That's the spirit of God talking to you. So shout out to her. That's amazing.
That's that step 2 healing.
Yeah. So that's step 2 healing. Go ahead.
that conviction, and I'd run away from it, and I'd push it, and I'd be like, but I don't want to change. I want to be like everybody. Like, I don't want to have to.
We used to make fun of the Christians.
We did. We made fun of people
you're
who didn't
such
cuss.
a holier than thou Christian. Wow, F this.
I also
we
feel-
truly can't even say it.
It's been probably, I don't know how long, that I can't get an F word out of my mouth.
It's
It
insane.
physically can't come out of my
Yeah.
mouth. And you know what? Like
She said something that made my wheels are going crazy.
let's
now.
go.
Yeah.
I don't think cussing Christians realize how cringe they are. When you start like, when you don't cuss and then you're around someone that's like, like the cuss. I'm not talking like you're playing ball and someone like something slips, right? I'm talking like you are the cussing Christian. It is in your regular language. I don't think people realize how cringe that is.
When you said it made me cringe, I never really pictured making anybody cringe from my mouth. And if I'm talking about God and making cringe,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
I think of the scripture. Sorry, Ari.
He took the words right out of my mouth, right?
He's like, ugh.
You never realize how cringy it is. It's cringy. It's like it's like a try hard. I'm trying so hard to relate to people that I have zero restraint.
Yeah.
Because we would never do this with the places we would go. We would never do this with the food we would eat. We would never do this with the drinks we would consume or overconsume. We would never do this in other areas.
Yeah.
Scripture that
She's
says,
so annoying.
I'm sorry. Well, I just want to tell you one scripture. I think it's in James. It's like, can fresh water and salt water both flow out of the same spring? How can you love God and curse anybody with the same
She's
mouth?
cooking.
I saw that as cursing a man, though. Like even my own enemies, they don't even know that I plant them flowers in their fields.
Right. Can I tell you one story? So I was reading. So you know the moment where Peter denies Jesus 3 times, right?
Before
and
the
I
rooster
can pull
crows,
it.
yeah.
And I can pull it up because I'm paraphrasing, but it says something. So 3 times people come up to him. Do you know Jesus? You were just with him. I saw you with him. You're a Jew. Like you have to be with him. And he says 3 times, no, I don't know him. No, I don't know him. The 3rd time it says that Peter curses and says, I do not know this man. So in the moment where he was trying to separate himself from Jesus and no longer identify as a follower of Jesus, he cursed. He used some sort of foul language. And that's what really got me in saying, when I do use foul language, as annoying as it is, when I do, I'm separating myself from the character of Jesus.
Good for her.
Yeah.
I didn't want this to happen to me. Okay, you know what? I'm singing along to songs and I'm a loser. I'm skipping over the F word. I'm skipping
Oh,
over
we do
the
the
F word.
edited version now.
It's ridiculous.
But I was feeling the separation from God when I was living in sin, when I was
sense has to prevail. Sometimes sacrifice has to be made, despite feeling bad or somebody getting the short end of the stick. That's decisive.
We're going to teach them how to swim, and they need to have activity. I don't know what we're going to do for a couple, 3 months. I'll call universities, I'll call other places.
The governor went on to say she is also looking at other locations, but has not said exactly where.
That's Massachusetts Democrat Governor Maura Healey, all flustered and emotional when talking about the illegal migrants entering her city. It's the exact same pattern. Emotional, Democrat, liberal politician looks at people, feels bad, and then bends over backwards, using other people's money, in other words, taxpayer dollars, reaching into your frickin' pocket to hand out the charity to literally anybody who needs it. It's completely idiotic because what we're talking about here is the issue of housing illegal migrants. And Massachusetts is doing exactly what New York City did, except probably a whole lot worse, taking over an entire recreational center in a predominantly African-American community, converting the recreational center to house illegal migrants.
Look inside the new temporary shelter, which will be a safe space for hundreds of families over the next few months. The Melnia Cass Rec Center.
A recreational center in Roxbury, now a temporary safety net site with beds, play areas, and other necessities for incoming migrant families that the governor and community leaders toured today.
We're here today because we really don't have a choice.
State and city leaders say they've all been moved by the plight of families, many now camping out at Logan Airport with no place to go, and a state shelter system stretched to the limit. But the decision to make it a temporary home until May 31st for migrant families is called humanitarian, but also difficult by some. And Boston Mayor Michelle Wu acknowledged that today.
This is not the first time that this community has been asked to sacrifice over and over again, and so we'll continue to work with the state and ensure that all options are on the table.
Now, the governor says she hopes the community will be...
I think I've made this point before, but I'll make it again because I think it's a great comparison. It's the overly emotional, extremely attached mother and sometimes father that has a son or daughter who's a substance abuser, a rock-bottom drug addict for a child, and they make matters worse by enabling the addiction, by driving them to go pick up drugs, by putting a roof over their head, allowing them to do those drugs in their home.
It's free. It was a place for our children. Our children, I have 4 children, and it's sad. We really don't have nothing in the community that's free for us. Don't get me wrong, it's great that they want to help the immigrants, but what about the Americans that are already here? What about the people that are already here that don't have homes, that don't have jobs, that are sleeping on the street already?
I mean, I think a lot of cities across this country are, once they declare themselves a sanctuary city, I'm not sure if they knew the amount of support we were going to need to give.
Was that, I know you're a Democrat, but do you think declaring cities as sanctuaries was a mistake in retrospect?
Looking back, if our communities end up losing the services they need to live full lives, I think we may be questioning that.
You know, like when we look for help, it seems like the state and the governor and them people, they push us away. They want to turn our children to animals. They want our children to be bad and F up. We want better for our community, but this right here is going to be a shit show and it's going to be crazy.
Live here. And I've been here my whole because I can yell. Because I can yell. Because I can yell. I don't give a about the motherfuckers that was born and raised here. I'm homeless. I work a full-time job, 40 hours. And getting paid to live here. How the y'all gonna bring somebody else here?
I think the most important question there is,
about the motherfuckers that was born and raised here. I'm homeless. I work a full-time job, 40 hours, and getting paid to live here. How the y'all gonna bring somebody else here?
I think the most important question there is, why don't they help the people here first? That's exactly it. This type of emotional approach feels good in the moment. No life left behind. The poor people come.
Man refusing to tip, says server. shouldn't get 25% for doing their job. What happened where like this is now a news story? Like why has this become a news story? Is there a video for this? Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so where's the dude's video? Is this like a video or what? Is this a video? Like, can I watch him talk about this? Or it's an AI article? Like, wait. So they did, is this man real? Is this a real person? I don't even know if it is. There's a lot of Dustin Andersons. I mean, it seems like a pretty common name, right? But like, there's a lot of white guys here, but none of them really look like this guy specifically, right? Because he's got blue eyes. Maybe this guy? Like, I don't know. We found it. Okay, all right, so this is a real person. We thought this wasn't a real person. It turns out it is. Let's go ahead and look at this.
So I'm not tipping anymore. I'm done. I'm out. Used to be you would give a tip if somebody gave exceptional service. When was the last time you got exceptional service anywhere? And it's just expected. They bring you the bill at the end and they're like, here, just fill this out. 20%, 25%. No, you did your job. They made food. You carried it to my table. You got me a Diet Coke. Thank you. That was your job. You don't get 25% because you did your job. And I'm not the bad guy here. I'm not. If you own a restaurant, just tell me what it costs. I don't want people to go hungry. What does it cost for me to get my food, and also so that the wait staff doesn't have to join the cartel, do some Lord of the Flies, Oliver Twist? Like, I want people to be taken care of. Just tell me what it costs.
Just go ask Europe. They figured it out a long time ago. Yeah, what do you mean? So let's go ahead here and we'll look and see what the comments are on this topic, right? And so you read this, yes, tipping's out of control. iPads at pickup counters have got to go. Tipping whenever you get a coffee. Oh my God. Tipping Door Dashers before I've even received my food. Oh yeah, so it looks like a lot of people are really fed up with this kind of stuff, man. And I'm not surprised. I feel like nobody really likes having to tip, especially whenever, I mean, let's be real, guys. Everything has doubled in price in the last 5 years. Maybe not everything, but a lot of things have. A lot of things have gone up in price ridiculously. And it's been in like this tiny little fucking window, and it's happened. And so this goes and happens. This is awful. Like, this is crazy. So people are getting pinched like crazy. They don't even know how to fucking make ends meet. They can't afford to do anything. They want to go and eat out to at least have something nice. And then they've got to spend 20% on top of that because the owner of the restaurant doesn't want to pay the worker. Get the fuck out of here. Absolutely not. And so you see everybody here because, like, for me, like, whenever I go out, I always tip. And I always tip a lot of money. Even if I get, you know, like, takeout, I will tip them money usually. Because it's like, I have a lot of money and I don't really care. It's like, I can help them. It's because I can, right? It's not a big deal. And so, but before, whenever I didn't have any money, I never tipped. I never tipped. And if I ever had to tip, I stole silverware to make up for the money that I got tipped for, or that I had to tip for. And so I never did this. So, of course, this was not my thing. But now that I have the money, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't really give a fuck, right? However, we're already close to 25% inflation, but people can't afford 25% tip on top of 25% inflation. Yes, in England, nobody expects you to tip. It's odd how the USA, it's like an additional fee. People are becoming ungrateful and acting as though a tip is their right. There are a lot of waiters and people that work in the service industry that do feel that way. I see it all the time. And it's a big problem. I think so. I'm 100% in support of the tip, but it should be optional and voluntary. American tipping culture is so stupid, but they only earn $2. Yeah, maybe look at this instead. Yeah, isn't that the real problem? Not me. The wage service industry tip for $2.15. That's why there is a tip. That's why. Well, then maybe fix that. I agree. Tipping needs to end, and companies must pay their people. Yeah, I feel like everybody is. I'm actually surprised, right? And if you don't want to tip, then don't use the service. It typically expects you to use a tip. Well, I don't really think that's the case. I disagree with this because if you don't want to not get tips, don't get a job that you have to rely on them, and they might not happen. I feel like you can turn this around on the person who is doing the work very quickly because it's like, okay, so you're working at this job where you can, you know, people can give you money or not, but you're choosing to work there. No. If you buy something on a menu, it should be that price. In Europe, my understanding is that it is literally illegal to have a price for something on that's stated and then you go to the counter and it's a different price instead. And that's including sales tax. They have all of that in there. So, like, it's crazy how, like, not only do we have to pay sales tax that's not included in the original price, but on top of that, you also have a tip that's also included that is not on the original price as well. So it's like it's not even deceptive in one way, it's deceptive in two ways. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think Europe has it right, personally. I think that's a better solution. The sales tax thing is like, it's not really a big deal, but it is, I mean, 8% is a lot, right? Like, fuck, you spend $1,000, that's $80. That's a lot of fucking money. $80 is a lot of money. So, yeah, should be more like Japan where it's offensive to tip. Tipping is a psyop that pits customer against wage worker to the benefit of the business owner. Holy fuck, that is true. Jesus Christ, that is true. Wow. Absolutely. Just walk into the kitchen, grab your own food, but a lot of people do tip, and it's not in your face and completely up to you. Yeah, I don't think tipping is like, I don't think tipping should be made like illegal or something like that. I don't think so at all. Like, it's just that if you have it and people feel like they have to do it, I do think that sucks. And it doesn't help anybody. I don't think it helps the workers either. It's the same in Australia. Restaurants have the lowest profit margin. If restaurants had to pay $15 an hour, there's no way any of them could survive. Well, like, how is it that other countries that don't have tipping have restaurants? Because, like, that's what's so crazy to me. Because, like, if you can't do, like, because how does that happen? Because there's a lot of other places that have restaurants and they don't have tips. So how is it that the U.S. needs to have tips and there's no other way to do it? But if you look anywhere else, there are all of these other ways to do it, and somehow we can't see that. I don't know what to say. And also, here's another big point. If you can't afford to pay your workers minimum wage, you can't afford to exist. Like, aren't you arguing kind of like for slavery? I mean, not really slavery, but like, you know, exploitation? Where you're saying like, well, you know, they couldn't make any money if they paid the minimum wage, so they have to pay them less than that, and it's okay? What the fuck do you mean? Like, if your business isn't viable whenever you have to factor in payroll, then your business isn't viable. Like, what the fuck? How is it so complicated for people? I don't understand. Waiters and waitresses don't want to get rid of the tipping system because they make more than hourly wage. It's not just the business's fault. Sure, but like, again, I think that tipping will stop whenever people stop tipping. This is, in my opinion, a completely self-inflicted problem by the American population. And I think that the American population is so narcissistic and self-absorbed that they're constantly fixated on the way that other people perceive them, and them being disapproved of for not tipping is seen to them as more problematic than literally giving their own hard-earned money away. And so the psychological problem where a person feels like they have to put on an act for people that they'll never see again, this idea is, I think, much worse than tipping ever could be. And I think that's really what the problem.
If you've been following any of the stories over the past several years about the movement of
60-mile stretch between Panama and Colombia. It is not a canyon as many people imagine the gap must be. It's an impenetrable piece of jungle, and the road has never been completed there, not because it's technically impossible to do, but because the combination of the difficulty of putting a road through that jungle and the danger of doing so has meant that North and South America have been separated in this way for the entire history of that road.
So you often hear people say it's a perilous journey to get across that 60 miles of the Darien Gap. Is that a fair assessment?
It's beyond fair. Let's just say I did my graduate work not far from Darien. I did it in central Panama, and the jungle in the Darien Gap is someplace that one does not go without careful preparation. It is quite dangerous. It involves a number of conditions that make it perilous. For one thing, the Cordillera, which is the mountain range that is effectively the Continental Divide, the same Continental Divide that we see in Colorado, for example, continues down through Central America, and it passes through Darien. So imagine a very difficult jungle without proper trails through it, in which migrants have to come up that mountain range, and they're almost all unprepared. They don't have the kinds of materials you would want with you, so they're soaking wet from rain, they're sleeping on the ground, and so they get hypothermia.
An epidemiologist has told the faltering and now delayed UK COVID inquiry that many COVID measures were basically silly and nonsense. The Slovakian leader is demanding an investigation into excess deaths and adverse vaccine injuries. Does this mean that the establishment COVID narrative is finally about to snap, break, and come undone? Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining us on our voyage to truth and freedom. In the COVID inquiry in the UK, which, as I've told you, is being delayed now, even though it's cost £145 million, they're putting it till after the...
Well, how long and severe a lockdown could we get away with?
Get away with? Didn't you sense that that was the kind of attitude? Curious that we can't see any of the WhatsApp text messages or communications between senior political figures like the current Prime Minister, the former one, because they've all somehow just magically deleted all their messages or factory reset. There's all sorts of reasons why a person's text messages could go missing.
But the public would tolerate, rather than actually looking at evidence of components of it and saying we didn't need them.
Isn't it odd how it takes an epidemiologist in an inquiry, a retrospective inquiry, to say it's not like they were, looking at evidence or anything, to make us all realise, like with a start, as if a cold glass of water's been flung in your face, oh my God, we can't trust them. Those of us that never trusted them, we were right. Wow, okay, right, let's immediately apply that mentality to what's happening now. Whoa!
Okay.
First of all, sorry to interrupt. When you talk about outdoor activities...
You should be locked down. Cough, cough.
Are you meaning things like going for a walk in the park, or are you talking also about outdoor activities like football matches?
Football matches were on the cusp.
Well, because a lot of people are gathering, they're going there by public transport, they might go to a pub together.
Hush here, joining up. Who's up next?
Guardian deployed.
You tried. Let's end this quickly. You tried.
Double kill.
Another for the fire. You have a job.
I am reborn.
Let's end this quickly. Enemy down. This isn't good. Slow. Ready for waiting.
Double kill.
Another for the fire.
You are the avatar of death. Am I the only one?
I'll bring you back. Ready for some revenge?
The trust of winner order. Go forth.
This isn't good.
Cry of terror rings out.
Who's up next? Should have thought twice.
Double kill.
What did you think would happen?
You have vanquished a powerful foe. You are the avatar of double kill.
Join your friends in
You
the
have
afterlife.
slain an immortal.
Victory is within our grasp.
Am the flame.
disappointing loss. I should have planned for this.
Rest now. Double kill. Allied triple kill. You have vanquished a powerful foe. Quadra kill. Another one fall.
joining up.
Mix it up.
Let's try something new.
Double kill.
Another for the pie. Better find something. Who's up next? Enemy down.
Double kill.
Another for
Shut
the pie.
down.
Of course it's down to me. Too slow.
You are the avatar of death.
I'm bringing you back. You tried. Let's try something new. Of course it's down to me.
The trial commences. Order. Let's have to take section.
Enemy down. Better find some cover.
Keep me down. Push back the enemy.
Who's up next? You tried. Should've thought twice.
Death comes to you. Return to the earth.
Trial commences.
Double kill. You have slain an immortal. You are the avatar of death.
ready and waiting. Better find some cover. I'm bringing you back. Should have thought twice.
Double kill. You are the avatar of death.
Take this! Return from the flames!
Double kill.
Another for the pyre. Let's end this quickly. Return from the flames!
Follow me. This way. Over here.
Let's end this quickly. Who's up next? This way.
Get there!
Let's try something new.
The trial commences. Are part. Let's try. You are judged.
Who's up next? Let's try something new. This isn't good. Who's up next? I'm bringing you back. This isn't good. Time for payback. You have a job to do. Tread lightly. Tried. Ready and waiting. Enemy down. Let's end this quickly.
We have lost the battle, but not the war.
Easy battle. Almost a waste of my talent.
Oh, those fascists, those racists, those Nazis, those lunatics. Oh, they're on a train, and now they're in a pub, and now they're going to Nuremberg.
All those different variables.
Yes. That would, I mean, you'd need to do a fairly detailed public health appraisal of
Boring, just like everyone in their house.
detailed public health appraisal of where you drew the line.
Draw the line wherever we like. We'll draw the line from Klaus Schwab's pen all the way to the WHO treaty.
But we, in the UK, arrested people for going on solo walks in the mountains. That's just utterly absurd.
Ah, look at that mountain view. Takes the breath away, doesn't it? Yeah, it just shows you how insignificant we are, those mountains. Is that someone going for a walk? Get!
That that devalues the whole idea of social distancing when anyone can see. This is nonsense.
Social distancing, by the way, which Anthony Fauci admitted in his own inquiry, was arbitrarily arrived at. The 6-foot figure just sort of appeared. Remember what Mark Warhaven is referring to, and he's obviously a person that's interested in freedom and, more significantly, science, is that a lot of goodwill was expended during that time. And also the important idea that we stayed in our houses or took certain medications under the auspices of the idea that we were helping other people and society as a whole. Do you see how that idea was mobilized? Well, we're all in this together. We've got to help one another. What about the vulnerable? Many of these questions did not withstand scrutiny. Hold on, it doesn't stop transmission. Hang about, the distances are arbitrary. Lockdowns aren't effective.
Life choices. Degree with limited employment, living in an expensive city. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Holding resumes, a stack of them, so that I can go in person to places and say, are you guys hiring? It's honestly a little bit embarrassing because I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what? This is not what I expected. I graduated college with 2 degrees in communications and acting. I speak 3 languages. Oh, this sucks. Like, I just want to be a TikToker if I'm being so for real with you. But I can't be delusional anymore. Like, I literally need to make money. So, I'm just gonna keep trying.
Jesus, that sucks.
Context. In an update before this, she said she filmed part of an interview for TikTok. What 26-year-old thinks that's a good idea?
I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I filmed a little bit of the interview.
Sooner or later, someone's going to look at what went on in various African nations to see how much difference these vaccines actually made. Because, of course, in Africa, it wasn't deemed necessary to have these vaccines because they couldn't afford them. Could that be another clue to the objective behind all this?
But it was done. May I?
See how different our country is from your... Oh, do you mind if I... So another thing, I'm quite cheesed off about all of this. We've been lied to on an unconventional scale. If I may, forgive me. God rest the Queen.
Absolutely. Another good example, there was an absolute outcry in the summer of 2020 that people were going to beaches.
Beaches, mountains, Mother Nature, the Earth itself. Disgusting, you fascists.
There was never, ever an outbreak of COVID-19 anywhere in the world linked to a beach.
We can't make this content without your love and support, and without the support of our sponsors, who we always select on the basis of a kit has got you covered for times like this. The Wellness Company, the antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasites at checkout. So if you use the code BRAND, you get 10% off. Don't wait until it's too late. Take control of your health with the Wellness Company's Medical Emergency Kit. Thank you. Now, let's get into this.
It was fine. People could go to the beach. But nonetheless, we were very resistant.
Clearly a respectable scientist and professor interpreting many of the measures as erroneous, draconian, slapdash and ludicrous, and that's how many of us felt at the time. So that's one avenue. The social measures that were deployed were seemingly ridiculous. Now over in Slovakia, that bastion of democracy, that aspirant nation Slovakia, it seems that they are interested in truth and freedom. Here is the leader of Slovakia talking at length about his desire to investigate excess deaths, adverse events, and the reporting of deaths during the pandemic period. He seems pretty, to quote the epidemiologist, cheesed off.
Dámy a páni z progresívneho Slovenska z opozície, videli ste štatistiky, ako nám stúpli úmrtia na rôzne srdcovo-cievne príhody kvôli očkovaniu? Ale vy to odmietate. Samozrejme, že to odmietate, budete tvrdiť, že očkovanie bolo najlepšie na svete.
So he's talking about myocarditis and heart diseases rising since vaccination and demanding an investigation into that. Something that you'd have heard on independent media years ago. And we only know that stuff, of course, because of brave people like Jay Bhattacharya or Robert Malone or Peter McCulloch or all of the people that stuck their neck out in order to convey this information to us.
Čo viete o tom, koľko nám zostalo vakcín, ktoré expirovali, a koľko peňazí sa vyhodilo do vzduchu?
Now he's referring to the extraordinary deals that took place between Pfizer and the European Union, some of them being arranged by a text message, quite undemocratic, and the possibility that some of these vaccines will go completely unused.
Čo viete o nákupoch zdravotníckej techniky a testov? Viete o tom, že sme preukázali veľmi jasne prepojenie trnavskej firmy na predsedu jednej z opozičných politických strán.
Now he's talking about curious relationships between members of political parties and pharmaceutical groups, suggesting that perhaps deals were achieved or brought about for motives other than public health.
100-tisícové, miliónové nákupy, úplne zbytočné. Čo viete o manažmente? Čo viete o tom, čo sa dialo, pokiaľ išlo prijímanie rôznych opatrení, ktoré podľa nášho názoru podstatne viac zvyšovali chorobnosť, ako to bolo možno v iných krajinách.
In fact, it's an indication of how well educated we've all become during this period that you'll have heard already of many of the points that he is making. Now talking about comorbidities, talking about measures taken in other states, variations in lockdown measures across the world, and now that we have available data to see how effective those measures were.
Viete, že som bol veľmi otvorený, ja som to povedal pani predsedničke Európskej komisie otvorene, že tie podozrenia, ktoré sú spojené s ňou a s nákupom, najväčším nákupom v histórii Európskej komisie vakcín, kedy si doslova do písmena vymieniala tajné SMS-ky s riaditeľom Pfizeru a kedy poslancom Európskeho parlamentu na posmech bola napísaná, vydaná správa, ktorá bola celá začiernená. Jednoducho nerozumie sa nikdy pravdu.
He's talking about that deal between the EU and Pfizer and how when a plea for transparency was made, it was largely redacted.
Akú úlohu farmaceutické firmy zohrali a kto vlastne organizoval.
Now he's questioning the role that the pharmaceutical companies may have played even in constructing the legislation. And when you know that BlackRock were involved in the funding of COVID measures and that BlackRock were involved in the legislation that generated the response to the 2008 crash, you have to wonder what kind of largesse large corporations are granted when it comes to designing legislation that could be advantageous and beneficial to their organizations. Certainly it's a line of inquiry that this dude wants to see undertaken.
Slovenská verejnosť jednoducho potrebuje odpoveď. Potrebuje odpoveď ohľadne očkovania. Čo to vlastne bolo? Prečo boli ľudia očkovaní rôznymi experimentálnymi vakcínami bez akýchkoľvek skúšok? Prečo do ľudí boli pchaté všelijaké lieky?
Now it's getting to the very heart of the matter. Hang on a minute, why were we all being injected with this stuff? Maybe we didn't know enough about it. Perhaps we can't trust these people. Perhaps we should have been a little more circumspect and a bit less bombastic around this stuff.
Prečo bolo celoplošné testovanie? Kto kupoval? Prečo kupoval? Aké množstva sa kupovali? Koľko to stálo peňazí? A skončíme pri miliardách. Pri miliardách.
Apparently some of the people in the Slovakian parliament are grinning and he's quite pissed off about that.
Za týchto podmienok sme sa rozhodli, že vytvoríme úrad splnomocnenca vlády, ktorý sa bude týmito otázkami zaoberať. Chceme vedieť ešte na základe toho, čo máme k dispozícii, čo sa vlastne udialo. Absolútne, opakujem ešte raz, absolútne presvedčený, že jeho práca bude viesť k výsledkom, ktoré budeme zverejňovať a budeme slovenskej verejnosti hovoriť, čo sa to vlastne pre Boha počas toho covidu stalo.
That's extraordinary. So ultimately it's going to lead to the publication of data asking the question, what the hell happened during this pandemic? So ultimately Slovakia, probably because they're not considered to be one of your main France, Britain, Germany style major European nations, are doing a proper inquiry because they're not under the thumb of pharmaceutical companies, I might suggest. And their inquiry might go a little further than the UK one and reach some conclusions that will be difficult to reach in nations like yours and ours, but that are nonetheless important conclusions to reach.
Hush here, joining up. You tried. Enemy down. You tried.
Out of my way!
Take this! Should have thought twice. Let's try something new. thought twice. Should have thought twice. Too slow. Should have thought twice. Let's try something new. Should have thought twice. You tried. Enemy down. Should have thought twice. You tried. You tried. Take this! Enemy down.
You won't stop me!
Who's up next? You tried.
You won't stop me!
Let's end this quick.